Adam Loomis is joining me today, and he's going to, I'm going to turn him loose in just a minute. We spent the previous minutes before we got live in this call praying together, and we've committed this to the Lord and pray that we can provide some value to everybody. It's a mixture of people that are on this call. It's mostly people that are in a sort of a semi-startup mode, not necessarily, the big company kind of thing. And but there's, a variety of different folks on here, and so I asked Adam to just sort of bear in mind who's on the call and give it your best shot. But before we actually get going down that road, Adam's going to be watching for new people, and I'm going to let him do that while I share 4 scriptures with you guys. Um, First of all, it's about Jesus. In Mark 1, 44, 45, in Mark 1, he healed this leper. And he says to the leper, now don't tell anybody, go your way, show yourself to the priest, make an offer for your cleansing, the things that Moses commanded. But say nothing to anyone. That was what he said. However, the Bible says, he went out and he began to proclaim it freely and to spread the matter, so that Jesus could no longer openly enter the city, but he was outside in deserted places, and they came to him from every direction. And the thing that really hit me about that is that reality that Jesus had a way of spreading the message. And actually what it was is, you can read about it in Matthew 4, verses 23, 25. It says, Jesus went about all of Galilee. The word for Galilee, it literally means circuit. So he went on a circuit, and he was teaching in their synagogues, preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing all kinds of sicknesses. And his fame went out, throughout all Syria, and they brought him all the sick and so forth. And it says, great multitudes followed him. And it says from all different places. So I noticed that Jesus had this thing that even when he tried to get away and get like out in the wilderness, they managed to find a way to get there and absolutely, follow him. And that has to do with something that's pretty interesting to me. And that is, you have to have, if you really want to do well at marketing, you got to have the goods. If you got the goods, people you will get a following. So I noticed that he did that, and I thought about something else. In Jesus' day, and I was asking Adam if he knew this, but does anybody know the device that they used to capture memorable moments back in the time of Jesus and before? Does anybody know what that was, that device? They used to keep it on their mantle. It was a device that could capture it. Does anybody want to know? Anybody guess? Adam wants to know, and he guesses. Hey, greetings. Oh, hey, Brother Vargas. Good to see you from Guatemala. Been there 6 weeks. I remember it very well. Anybody want to know what device they use to capture memories? You ready for this? Okay, I'm going to read you something. In Luke 7:44, you might remember this verse. Jesus said, you see this woman. He had just come into whoever's house it was, and he came in there, and his host barely greeted him. Hey, Jesus, come on in, have a seat. But this woman, he said, since I entered your house, you gave me no water for my feet, but this woman has washed my feet with her tears and wiped them with the hair of her head. Here's how this worked. It was a tradition, a normal way this is like, think of this as the earliest camera. When there was a wedding, a funeral, a memorable, emotionally memorable moment that they wanted to capture, they would get, and I don't have one, so I'll use my coffee cup as an example. They would get this little vase with a little cork in it, and it was a tear vase, and they would put it under their eyes, and they would capture their tears, and then put a cork in it. It was their way of capturing the joys and the hurts and the pains and the happy moments, the sad moments, whatever it was. It would be captured and represented in that vase. And they would collect over years, and they would pick up that vase, and they would remember, they would replay those moments that were meaningful to them. And this woman, it is believed, washed her master Jesus' feet with those tears. She poured out all her hurts, all her pains, all her everything, and poured them on his feet. and then wiped him with the hairs on her head. So now you know that's the earliest camera that I'm aware of. And I thought it was pretty moving, so I wanted to share that with you. Now, last thing I want to share with you. Okay. Hi, Doris. Hey, Bruce, there you are. What I want to share with you is this passage in 1 Kings 4, 32 and 33. Speaking about Solomon, says that he was wiser than all the men. They named Ethan, they named Heman, they named somebody named Chocolate. That's not quite how you say it, but anyway, that guy. And his fame was in all the surrounding nations. And it says that he spoke. This is Solomon. 3,000 tweets and 1,005 YouTube postings. That's not quite the word they said. They said 3,000 proverbs, and his songs were 1,005. He was the original social media king. He put out so much content consistently. How long does it take to do it? I started writing proverbs some years ago that God would give me. Some of you know my very first one I asked him for back in the 70s is, Lord, I want to get proverbs like you gave Solomon. Can you start to show me some wisdom like that? And the very first one he gave me was, in the valley of indecision lay the skeletal remains of many a worthy plan. I thought, wow, that's good. That's my first one. And I've started collecting them over the years. And I haven't shared them with anybody other than that one and maybe a couple others just randomly. But I wanted to have that kind of wisdom. But he got 3,000 of those, and then he had 1,005 songs. His reputation was so strong that, the Queen of Sheba came to see him. Now listen to this. When the Queen came to see him, this is so important. She'd seen his videos on YouTube. She'd seen his tweets, on X. She'd seen all that. She'd heard about it. And she says, the half of what is here was not even told to me. Meaning, so very importantly, that as great as what was told to her, what was told to her wasn't even half of what she actually experienced. Translation, you want to make sure that you can deliver or outperform what people expect. You want to give more than you promise. Some people say promise small, deliver big. I'm not a fan of that. I'd rather promise big and deliver bigger. But Solomon did that, and that's pretty amazing because they had songs about him and all that kind of stuff. And yet when she gets there, I didn't even have half of it. That was pretty stunning. So when I started thinking about what Solomon was doing, now you need to think about this, okay? How they communicated, and they memories mattered, which is why they had the tear bottle. Memories mattered, and so they wanted to do that, and they wanted to find a way to share them. And Solomon had his way, and he shared them. And it says that the kings of the earth sent their emissaries from all over the earth to hear his wisdom. But it didn't happen on the first proverb. But it happened. And so when I started understanding that, and then Adam and I started talking, and I introduced Adam to one of my clients, and he sent me the proposal that he was going to do. I said, man, you just solved a problem for me personally, because I didn't have the answer, a very big answer that I did not have. And he solved it for me and for that client, frankly. And so I said, I'd like to introduce that. I've got so many people who love God and want to, benefit from your wisdom. And so I watched him do about a 45-minute presentation to a group of pastors. And I saw that happen, I don't know, a month ago, whenever it was, Adam. And I thought, that's perfect. It was simple, straightforward. There's no push. There's no nothing. It's just, he was just sharing. And then yesterday he said to me, hey, I feel like I wouldn't have minded selling the book, but I just want to give it to people. So we're going to do that as well, which I mentioned in the email this morning, that with the one with the broken link. Remember that one? Or the link that wasn't there? Jeff knows. Have you ever done that, Jeff? No, never. Yeah, I bet. Anyways, hi, Joyce. Good to see you. I can't see everybody. So hi, Diane. I'm going to turn it over to my friend, Adam Loomis. Now, Adam, just so you know, he's not a guy that just rolled up under the bridge. This guy has been doing the social media thing for, he's been in the marketing business for, I think, 12, 15 years, social media for, I don't know, 8 to 10 years, something like that. But what caught my attention was when he was telling me, "Hey, I got 120 million eyeballs in the last 14 months onto my clients' social media posts." I said, "Okay, we need to talk." And so he's going to share this. And what I love about what he's doing is there's no hype and there's no like, "Hey, if you do this tomorrow, you too will have 120 million." It's not that at all. It's real. If you want authentic, if you want real, if you want truth, if that's what you want, this is what he's going to deliver. And having said all that, I'm going to turn it over to my friend Adam, who I love and respect. He's a good brother. And Adam, it's on you.
Well, thank you very much. That was a wonderful introduction. You can introduce me anytime you want to, my friend. I appreciate it. Well, let me I appreciate everybody taking time on is today Wednesday? It's Wednesday, a Wednesday afternoon. I know we're all busy, and I've got a million things I want to tell you, and I've just really been praying that the Lord will let fly out of my mouth what is needed to be heard. So, a little bit of my background before we dive into it. Like Michael said, I started doing social media marketing, and I didn't even know what it was called back in 2016, kind of before anybody knew that you could even do that. I saw the opportunity on social media to connect with people. And I grew up in church. My grandfather was a pastor. My father and mother are ministers. And every week I saw them stand on a platform with the goal of connecting the message of God to the people that were in front of them. And I saw the correlation on how we could do that with social media and how, whether you're a ministry or an entrepreneur or a personal brand or a business, we all have a message that we're trying to share. And the opportunity had never been presented like it had been on social media. So I had a friend who owned a small company, and I asked him, I said, "Hey, I have an idea where we could like post content on your Facebook page to try to just like get people to look at it and get engagement and get people talking to you, because I feel like if they start talking to you, I think you got a good shot at doing business with them." So he had no idea what that meant either, and I was just filling it out. So I started doing it, and I started finding other business owners who could need that help, and maybe they didn't know what to do. It was kind of new at the time. They didn't know uh, how to post, what type of content to post. So I just started helping people do that, and I realized that it was a need. Uh, there was a great need for it, and so the Lord began to teach me things. I began to learn things following different mentors and etc. And here I am, 2025, and I have learned a lot, and I am endeavoring to share a little bit of that with you today. And that's why I wanted to give you my book, because I got tired of saying the same things over and over again, Michael, to everybody I talked to. And somebody finally said, "Could you just write it down for us? If you just write it down, you could just throw it at them and say, read that, and then let's start." So I'm going to do my best to give you some highlights from it, and then I'm going to send you the whole thing so you can digest it slowly, and hopefully it is a blessing to you. So the first thing, I think we need to understand something. There has never been a greater opportunity to connect our message to new people than today. In 2025, we have the ability to talk to anybody in the world at any time of the day or night. And the opportunity to create content that is going to be seen by people wherever, whatever platform that is, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, X, whatever your genre is, the fact that we can create content that people are going to see. But if we want to create content that like help me reach 120 million people, and I'll talk about exactly what that was here in a minute, we have to understand the purpose of social media. So my first point, I guess, would be people go on social media to disconnect, not to connect. Social media was not created for small business owners to sell their stuff. It was created for people to have a break, to go and relax and then just have they check their brain. People are sitting right now in a cubicle somewhere, not working, but scrolling. They're sitting at home, not cleaning, not doing the laundry like they told their spouse they would. They're sitting on the couch scrolling. People are going to disconnect. And so to understand that is really important. So our opportunity is then to present a message of engagement in order for them to connect to us. If they want to disconnect, we want to connect to them. So the goal is not conversion. We're not trying to sell people all the time. It's conversation. And that's why I call my book Conversational Marketing, because our goal is to begin a conversation with the people that are in front of us. Have you ever been to a networking meeting? where everybody's mingling, everybody's got a pocket full of business cards, and everybody cannot wait to tell you everything that they do, and they want you to buy all the things that you're trying to sell. And one thing I realized a long time ago, it's not anybody else's fault. I decided to sell something, or I decided to start a company, or I decided to have a product or a service. It is completely 100% my fault I did that. So I can't force what I do down anybody's throat. I have to build relationship. And if you've listened to Michael at all, you understand that people buy from, this is an old saying, people buy from those whom they like. And if they don't like you, they're not going to buy from you. So we have people on social media interacting with each other. They're sharing memes, they're sharing jokes, they're sharing pictures of their kids or whatever, vacation pics. There's no hard sell going on. And then you get these business owners that are just shoving their products down their throat. Hey, we got an offer today. Buy my thing, buy my thing. And let me tell you, it just doesn't work. Nobody wants to buy a thing until they connect to you. So through my clients' accounts, I'm the guy behind the helm, and I'm responsible to post content on their behalf that represents their brand. I'm starting to realize this. I'm starting to realize that when we post something about an event, or we post a special, or buy my schedule service, or get your I've worked for HVAC clients and plumbers, which can be very draining. All the types of industries I've dealt with. Uh, I realized nobody's responding to this kind of post. So then I started posting things that were just lighthearted, that had nothing to do necessarily with the us as the business, but it had everything to do with connecting to the people that are actually looking on social media. So I started posting like funny memes, or just had my clients start recording funny stories that's happened in their business and things of that nature. And let me tell you, as soon as I stopped trying to sell everything all the time, that's when that's when things started cooking. That's when things started happening. People started responding. That's when the post went from 10 to 100 people seeing it, to 100,000 people seeing it, to 1 million people seeing it. And I have one post that over 40 million people on Facebook alone saw that post, from a little tiny restaurant in Medina, Ohio. And as a result of that type of content, people started following the page, started interacting with the page, started liking more of the other content. And then when we finally did post something about, also, we have an event on Saturday, it got a ton of engagement. And guess what? The result was people showed up at the event because they realized these are humans that run this page, not some sales bot that's just trying to get into my wallet. And that's the focus. We can't just try to be getting everybody's wallet all the time. We have to seek to build connection. So when I'm encouraging my clients on what type of content to create that's going to win, because I don't know everybody on here. You may be an entrepreneur, you may have a brand, you may have a business that you're starting, you may be running a huge business. I don't know where you're at, but all of us have to connect to the person in front of us at no matter what level we're in. And authenticity always wins. So when we're creating content, we don't need to always try to be polished and perfect, because I don't know about you, but I am not polished, and I certainly am not perfect. I am real. I make mistakes. I struggle just like everybody else. Authenticity wins. I mean, do you remember during COVID when TikTok was like blowing up? People were posting videos of like a cat dancing behind a screen door, and those things were going absolutely crazy viral. And then other people were spending hours trying to perfect a perfect pitch, make sure the lighting was perfect, make sure all the things were perfect, and nobody in the world saw it. And there is nothing more discouraging than when you spend a long time working on something and you throw it out there and nobody cares at all. I've done that so many times. I've worked on a piece of content forever, threw it out there, and nobody responded to it. And then there's things that I worked on for 2 seconds, just that I thought was good and funny, and just kind of threw it out there nonchalantly. And that was the one piece of content that did so well. So authenticity always wins. And I'm going to give you some practical things that I think, a practical strategy here in a second, which I think is what I'm encouraging all my clients to do. And I want you to do the same too. I think it's the best strategy for us to win. So when we're creating content for our social, we don't need to be thinking, what can it do for me? The first thought we need to think is, what can it do for them? We have to provide value. Again, back to my point, nobody cares that you started a business. Nobody cares that you showed up at that networking event with 1,000 business cards in your pocket, ready to shove it in everybody else's pocket. You have to be successful. To be successful in those moments, you have to go up to somebody and say, "Hey, what's your name? How you doing today? I like your shirt." Whatever the case, begin a conversation. And so when we're thinking about content creation on how can we actually get people's attention in a very noisy environment, which is social media, when everybody is posting and everybody else is talking and everybody else is blasting, how can we stand out? We can think about the person in front of us and ask them about them. Begin to create content that is about our consumer, not us. The social media algorithms do not care that you're trying to sell something. In fact, the only time they do care is if you will be willing to pay them money to run an ad. That's the only time they care. They're interested in showing content that me as the scroller wants to see. And I don't know if you've noticed a change in this. Like you and I could be talking about, in fact, I'll say a testimony, if you will. Yesterday, I was talking to a buddy about his lawnmower that had broken down before the season ended and he had to go buy a new one. And we were just having a very casual conversation about lawnmowers. And would you know it, in about 30 minutes, scrolling through social media, I start seeing people riding around on lawnmowers. Now, they're listening to us because they want to show us things that we want to see. So if we want to get our content out there, we need to be finding out what it is that our potential audience, our target audience wants to see. What problems do they have that we can solve? What concerns do they have that we can help with, alleviate? What questions do they have that we can answer? Not what we need to sell in the back warehouse. Not our struggle and stress to try to get everybody to get on board with what we're doing, but for us to reach out to them in a very valuable way. And when I started doing that, that is when my clients' accounts started turning around. And so I'm going to give you a quick strategy on how to do that and what I'm doing with all my clients. This is what I'm telling everybody. I believe that long form content, and I'll explain this in detail, but I believe long form content is the anchor piece for everything that we do. If you do not have a YouTube channel for your personal brand, your business, no matter what level you're at, if you just started or if you're already super established as a huge company, if you do not have a YouTube channel where you are posting long form content, you are 1,000% missing out on a massive opportunity. Obviously, everybody knows Google is the #1 search engine in the world. Everybody goes to Google first. And then the #2 search engine in the world is YouTube. People have canceled cable. They've canceled streaming services. And I know people that go home every night with their cup of coffee on their couch and they'll sit and watch YouTube for a long time and then they go to bed. And so the opportunity that we can create long form content on and put it on YouTube and have us not just selling, but talking about who we are, talking about stories from our life, letting people know who we are behind the brand, not just selling our stuff, but becoming real and authentic. It's a massive opportunity that we can have. And that long form content can then, the audio can be ripped out of that and you can start your own podcast. You could be like Joe Rogan and have your own podcast. You could take that audio and launch a podcast because people, when they're walking around at work, when they're working out, when they're driving in their car, people are consuming long form content. People will go and watch a Joe Rogan podcast for 3 hours, and just sit and listen to every word. So there's that opportunity. So I encourage you to create long form content. So here's what I tell my clients because they go, well, that sounds great. And I think it's a good idea, but I don't know what to do. What kind of long form content? So what I begun to do, I began to interview my clients. I schedule a call and we do something like this where it's me and them. And I just start asking them questions about their story, about their journey, how they began, what gave them the idea for their business, what gave them the idea for their product and services, what their vision is, what their goals are, what their passion is, and just kind of go back and forth. And you'd be amazed at how people let their guard down and the real them comes out. And when their target audience hears them, when their target audience hears that authenticity and that just genuineness, then they are so much warmer to connect than if it was just a sales video or an ad. Because I don't know about you, but the moment I see an ad is the moment I don't want to buy whatever was being sold. I do marketing and I cannot stand advertising. I hate it because everybody wants my money. Now I buy things every day, but I don't want to feel persuaded through an ad. It makes me feel dirty inside, to be honest with you. It makes me feel like I need to go take a shower. I just got taken advantage of. But everybody purchases, but nobody wants to be sold to. So our goal is to connect. So I've had them create these long form videos, and I usually recommend 2 a month, where you're just talking about your stuff. You're talking, and it could be you by yourself. It could be you with an employee. It could be you with a vendor, business partner. It could be you and your mom and dad. It could be you and anybody just talking and beginning a conversation. And then you take that long form video content and you clip it out. And I know that a lot of you've seen these. If you're on Instagram, if you're on TikTok and Facebook, you'll know that short form video is all you pretty much see. It used to be where static posts were kind of the focus on those platforms. I mean, Instagram started out as a place where you could show pictures and you could put funny filters on them and all that. Most of the time now it's reels. And I just listened to an interview with the Instagram CEO, and he said that reels are what the algorithms prioritize. So if you're not posting 2 to 3 reels a day on your social media channels, you are missing out on a very big opportunity. I just saw a question in the chat. How long is long form content? Long form content is as long as you want it to be. As long as you want, there's no magic answer there. Just like I said a minute ago, Joe Rogan. Literally listened to a 3-hour podcast with him the other day, and I was just busy working and doing my thing or whatever. But it was engaging me the entire time. So as long as the content is quality and it's good, don't worry about how long it is. Just make sure you say what you need to say, do what you need to do, and that's the important thing. So the algorithms, they cherish and value video content. And so on Instagram, a lot of people think, well, the shorter the better because they're just trying to hook everybody. I don't know. I've not really seen that theory played out very well. I've posted videos that were like a minute and 20 seconds long, and they did really, really well. I've posted videos that did 15 seconds long, like a lot of people recommend, and they didn't do anything at all. So I think consistency and just pushing content out into the algorithm is the key. So that long form piece of content, there's a ton of AI platforms. There's one called Opus Clip. I use one called Vizard.ai, where you can literally copy the link from YouTube and it will find moments in the video that it believes has an opportunity to go viral, which everybody wants to go viral, except if you're sick or something. I think that's bad. But everybody else wants to go viral. I like to, and I had this thought this morning. I don't really care about going viral. I want people to provide value, so go value, because I'd rather have 1,000 people that I was connected to on social media and engaged with in a really warm and connected way than 100,000 followers that didn't really know me and didn't even interact with me at all. So I mean, think if you had 100 more clients or 100 more sales or like 100 more transactions, that would be worth a lot more. You would think the ROI is a lot better than if you just had a meme go viral or 100,000 likes on a post or something. It's really not about likes and follows anymore. It's about views. And so that's why creating short form video content is so important, because I've had clients where I've posted, and I try to post, I always tell people we need to post consistently. Does that mean every day? Yeah, it means at least every day. Does that mean twice a day? Sure. Does it mean 3 times a day? Yep. If you have an idea, post it. If you have a thought, post it. You can't post too much. You can't spam your audience. If you've noticed when you're scrolling through social media, a lot of the things you're seeing in your newsfeed isn't people that you follow. It's people that they recommend you follow because they know what you like to see, what type of content you like to hear based on what you've watched. And so when we're posting content, the algorithms know who our target audience is based on what we've said in our videos. They can hear us. I mean, just like they heard about the lawnmower, they know what I was talking about. And so if you are an HVAC person and you have content in the algorithm where you're talking about your business, you're talking about your story, you're talking about HVAC, they heard the conversation that the husband and wife in your area had last night about needing to get the HVAC, the furnace tuned up. They heard that. And guess what? The next day, if your content exists in the algorithm, they have a really good chance to see it. So the algorithm is our best friend because if we provide that quality and consistent content, it's going to know how to find our target market. And we used to do that through hashtags, and everybody would try to get all the right hashtags in place, and you have to post a certain time of day, and you have to post blah blah blah. None of that matters anymore. AI has changed everything that we do. I mean, I have posted videos without copy at all. There was no copy, there's no music, there's no nothing, just a video, and it did 10 times better than anything that I did before. So it's just about providing the value and being consistent. And so taking that short form content, and it can be, I think the limit on uh, Instagram has been increased to 3 minutes. And I know YouTube Shorts actually just increased their limit as well. So just kind of just throw it out there and push the content out. And I believe that when you do that, you'll start seeing a lot more results. So one of the things that you'll see when I send you my book, and I hope you read it because it took me a long time to write it. I think it took me an entire month to write it while I was walking around. I literally recorded it in my phone and sent it out to somebody, and they just kind of transcribed it for me. So God bless them. That had to be a mess. But one of the things I talk about in the book is the 90-10 rule. So when we're thinking about content creation, we need to be thinking 90% of our stuff that we're pushing out is not us trying to sell things, but it's just trying to converse with people. It's just trying to start a conversation, trying to engage. And it can be something funny. It could be something not even related to your business at all. It doesn't because I always treat my accounts kind of like they're humans. Because when people pick up the phone and finally call your office or call your organization, most of the time they're going to talk to a human. I hope. I mean, we are getting into the day of AI, but hopefully everybody's still answering phones and connecting with people on a human level. So 90% should just be engagement over promotion. And then the other 10%, you can still talk about your stuff, but just know no one's going to react to that post like they did the other stuff. And that's okay. That's okay. Your goal is to connect to people. And then when people do begin, and this is a thing that I've seen a lot, people do start responding to your content. And then the businesses that are the pages that are getting these messages, they don't say anything back to them. It's like somebody texting you and you just ghost them. So when you begin to comment back to people, which is you should be watching your comments and your interactions. If somebody takes time out of their day and says something to you, make sure you say thank you or respond something back to them. It doesn't have to be this huge detailed thing. Just make sure you acknowledge it. It's like if somebody says, "Hey, I like your shirt," say thanks. Don't just be look at them and just walk away. It won't go well. They'll feel like you're not very nice. So make sure you say something to them. And another thing I've been telling people to do, and I've seen this to be like super good, almost like good customer service. If you get somebody to follow you, you notice that you have a follower, private message them and say, "Thank you for following me." You could even send them a quick little video, say, "Hey, thank you so much for following me. I appreciate it. I can't wait to learn more about you and get to know you." It can be something as simple as that. Do you think that they're all of a sudden going to think you're different than all the other social media accounts out there? That you're a human, that you're real? I think that's an amazing thing to do, and it's simple and it's free. So you take that long form content on YouTube, you put it onto social media, onto Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, LinkedIn. People are a lot of you are business B2B companies where a lot of your target audience is on LinkedIn. Uh, Most people on LinkedIn are just trying to sell, sell, sell. If you want to stand out from the crowd, just do something different than everybody else is doing. You can post the same type of content on LinkedIn. I think that's a huge opportunity this year for businesses to connect with other people that are in business, to network and to connect through conversational marketing, not just trying to sell your stuff, but consistently, consistently, consistently. My dad is a minister and he's also an author. I'll give you a little testimony. And then maybe we can, I'll look in the chat, we can answer some questions. Um, he wrote a book about 6 months ago, and it's a wonderful book on parenting. And he's been counseling parents for years, and finally just decided to write not only all the experiences down that he's seen and heard and things that he's helped people through. He wanted to write just an encouraging letter to parents on how to raise kids in this crazy environment that we live in today. And it's a beautiful book. But the problem is, once you write something or you create a product or whatever, if no one knows about it, how can they purchase it, right? If you have to, you do the hard work and then you have the other part of the hard work, and that's actually pushing the product out. And that's where most people get lost. They're like, I know what I have is great. I just don't know how to let people know about it. And so I told Dad this same concept. I said, Dad, you're going to create a YouTube channel and you're going to start telling stories about your life and your ministry and your childhood and all the things that you would talk about if you were taking somebody out to dinner or over a cup of coffee. You're not going to try to sell your book. You're just going to try to tell your stories. And he's looking at me kind of cross-eyed. And I said, just trust me. And then you're going to clip that out, put it on social media, and all of that's going to drive. People are going to connect to you, and they're going to seek you out because everybody's nosy by nature. You don't have to make sure you have links everywhere just to make it easy for people. If people want what you got, they will find where you live and stare in your windows. People are nosy. They know how to find you. They know how to find you. And so he started doing that when it was out of his comfort zone. I mean, he can preach to thousands. Well, you stick a camera in front of his face, and he becomes a different person. So I encouraged him just to relax, drink some coffee, play some soft music before you begin. Whatever it takes, just be normal, be real, and tell stories. And he started doing that, and he started posting it on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And would you know it, his TikTok account started blowing up, which there's a lot of people that talk about TikTok and they don't like it because of where it comes from and all the things, and they're trying to steal your personal identity and all that jazz. And you know what? Everybody knows everything about us anyway, so just don't worry about it. They already got you. They already know, and they don't want to do anything with it that much. I told somebody the other day, said they're going to steal my identity. I said, well, good luck. I hope you have more success with it than I've been able to have. Good luck. Make sure you pay the bill on the 15th. That's all I ask. So I began to encourage him to do that, and his TikTok channel started blowing up. He pastors a small church in Northeast Ohio. He had people start watching his content, really interacting with it. And he's had people drive from other states to come listen to him preach in his church of about 100 people, all, because they found him on social and they connected to his story. And because they connected to his story, guess what the result was? They bought his book and they bought his other stuff that he sells. They connected to with what he was doing. So I want to encourage you to think about that this year. It's not about selling your stuff. We get it. I know you want to. I know you want to sell more. Everybody wants to push the magic button and just go viral and just get everybody to like and comment and share and just create this whirlwind of just engagement. I know that's what we all want, but we're not going to do it unless we create a safe place for people to connect to. And I always ask myself this when I'm posting content or for myself or for whoever, I'm like, why would somebody want to follow? What am I offering that makes them want to follow me? Would I want to follow me? Would I want to take time at on my lunch break at work and listen to me? Or would I just fly by that person because he's annoying or whatever? So be thinking, create value first. We know you want to sell your stuff, but the only way that you're going to get more business or more interaction towards whatever it is that you're trying to do is through this approach. So, Michael, I don't know if you have any thoughts or whatever. I could continue to go forever, and I want to value everybody's time. I know we were trying to keep it at like 45 minutes. Are
Well,
you still okay? There you are.
yeah, I'm here. Hang on a second. There we go. No, listen, I'm very much liking this, and I started taking even more notice of all this when I noticed that my stats were up, 500, 600, 900%. And I thought, wow, this is really happening. And but here's the problem, and there's a couple of things that haven't been covered. I want to say this. Number one, would you confirm this? I want to look. Jeff put a question. Is that one of the tools that you mentioned? Is it bazaart.com? Is that one of the ones you mentioned?
There's a ton of them. No,
Oh,
I
you
use
mentioned a couple.
Bizarre. Yeah, Bizarre Opus Clip is probably the most popular one.
Would you put them in
Bizarre.
the chat, Adam? Because while you're free to do
Yeah.
that, while I talk, and he was asking, there's
Yeah.
one called BAZAART. I don't know if that's one of the ones you want, but just the ones that you were thinking of. If you just throw them
Yeah,
in there, it'd be good.
there's
And there's a big in my mind. There's a big elephant in the room for some people. Most people not so much. But one question that was asked was, about the long form video. And you
Mhm.
said you can't make it too long, but how long is too short?
I would say it needs to be at least 15 minutes long. Because I mean, on like TikTok, for instance, you can post up to 10 minutes. Uh, on live videos, like on Facebook and stuff like that, if you're not posting a reel or you're just posting a post, you can create longer content. But reels get the most engagement. So when you're posting video in short form, always think, what's my time limit on this platform for the reel? You don't want to post necessarily video only as a Facebook post because you can post a video as a post or a reel. So I always try to keep my long form content on YouTube and then flip out the short form, post that as reels on the other platforms. But at least 15 minutes. And, as long as you're still providing value and it seems interesting and it seems like there's a flow to it, I wouldn't stop until you're done. It's like, how long is a sermon supposed to last? Well, the preacher needs to stop when he's connected to the audience. Some keep going, but that's the most effective way.
Okay, thank you for that. The thing that is really connecting with me is like you said to me in a private conversation that you have never gone to Amazon to buy a book. You'd like to let me see if I can find something good to read. Let me go to Amazon to see what I can find. But you've bought plenty of books on Amazon. And how did you do that? It's because you saw somebody on YouTube or maybe a podcast or whatever it was, and you found them interesting or engaging or authentic or something about them. You said, they sound like an interesting person.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
So one of the things we talked about the Joe Rogan podcast and how it goes on for like 3 hours, and a lot of people have referenced back to their if they got invited to be on Joe Rogan, that was a pivotal moment in their business or career, whether they're a comedian or whether they're a business owner or whatever, because that was the moment that people discovered them. So they were in business or doing their thing way before that, but people got to hear their voice, got to spend time with them one on one. Because when people are listening to a video or a podcast, it's almost like they're eavesdropping in on the conversation. And so they're more engaged to listen because there's no responsibility for them to respond. Because when people have to respond, they get nervous and they feel like they're hearing what you say, but they're not really contemplating it. They're just trying to figure out what they're going to say back. They don't want to sound stupid or whatever. So people have experienced a huge uptick in interest, and a lot of these people have made it because of that experience on that long form platform. And so that's when people start googling them, and then that's when people start going on Amazon to find their book or whatever, because they didn't just go on Amazon. I want to find a book on weight loss. I mean, you can do that, but you're going to get 15,000 books, and it's like, which one do I read? I want to read the one from the guy that I heard on the podcast because he sounded like he knew what he was talking about. And that's the beauty of that long form because it gives opportunity for people to connect.
Which brings me back to I've got a few points. And listen, I'm going to open it up for questions here in just a minute. But when I told you at the beginning that Jesus went about teaching and preaching, which are two different things, I won't teach that right now, but they're very different. But he went on a circuit. So that implies there was continuity, doing it over and over again, getting the message out with the tools that were available at that time. And so that he did that, and it built in that the context for relationship, really, and for connection. And connection is a very important thing. And so we realized that when I bought all kinds of books on Amazon, but almost all of them, and maybe even all of them, were because I heard about them somewhere else, and I heard that person, on a YouTube video typically, or maybe some other situation. I thought, oh, I like the way that person sounds. And it was never like I heard them on a webinar. Now, to be clear, you can sell products. You can just right now start running ads and you can make sales. People do it. That's why advertising works, is because, and that's why it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, is because people are getting a result from it. However, typically an ad goes out at the point and people respond to it if they happen to have that pressing need right now and it's on top of mind. But we're not. If you want to be findable, this is the thing. What this does is, and I'm going to answer a big question in a minute, is it makes you findable because you've built up an inventory of content that raises your profile just high enough above the masses so that you will be a lot more findable. Now, let me explain something. It used to be, and he talked about the hashtag thing. I never was in that. When I was a kid, I heard enough about hash. We just didn't do it. It's just like I had this adverse reaction. No hash. But that was me. But there was this other thing about keywords. Now, basically what's happened, now I'm just going to put it this way, and I learned this from Adam, is that keywords are now pretty much almost, not quite, but correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, but almost obsolete. Like it don't matter, it does not matter anymore, because we used to say, hey, this is how you can tell my video. This is what we say to the search engine, what my video is about. Here are the keywords, and you put in 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, whatever it was, keywords. But now with AI, it in an instant will watch or listen or transcribe actually your entire video in just a very short time. And it says, I know what this is about. And so now I find out I'm going to look for people who are interested in this, and I'm going to put it in front of them. I don't care what your keywords say. I'm going to see what, in fact, your topic is about. And so
Right.
that changed a lot for me. It's like, okay, I want to have a lot of content. Now, I got 2 more things to say, and then I'm going to open it up. One is, here's a key thing for success. And Jeff, you and I spent some time together. So this I'm thinking about, not just you, but you in particular, is offer something. You want a success secret, offer something worth having with a story worth telling and an outcome for the customer worth talking about. That is gold, what I just said to you. Offer something worth having and attach to that a story that's worth telling, that gives context and meaning to the thing that you have. Here's the story. I did this and this is what happened. There's a story worth telling, and that thing that you're offering has an outcome for the customer that's worth talking about. And if you can accomplish that, you are going to do very, very well in this world of the media that we're going into. And what is happening in this social media thing is, because of AI in particular, it's now taking a lot of the nonsense out of it and it's saying, I listened to your whole video. You didn't really talk about that. You talked about this, and ain't nobody interested in it. Or maybe you put the wrong keywords or whatever. It's going to know what you talked about, and it's going to put that out there. So I think that's very, very powerful. So I think, let me see. Yeah, that's some of the things that I wanted to say. This that I felt. Oh yeah, here's the other thing. I got to put this out there. When Adam and I were talking about this, I said, Adam, and we had this actually was with one of my clients, and it's like they understand that, but the big question that the client has is, how in the world can I do that? I can't do that. Like I'm not good on camera. Well, Adam's got a solution for that. Or I don't have the time for that. And for me, I don't mind being on the camera and doing it. But the issue was, oh man, I've never posted a video on Instagram. But I did a deal with Adam, and now he takes my long form stuff and I contract with him. He cuts it up in the appropriate pieces using the software that he knows how to use. And boom, it's on Instagram. It's on YouTube Shorts. It's on Facebook Reels. It's on Facebook, whatever the things are. It's on TikTok. And I'm getting thousands and thousands of views on stuff that I had no interest in doing because I didn't have the time to do it. And so for some of you, that might be important. So I just say he solved that problem for me and for some other clients. So that's an issue. Now that's enough about that. What questions does anybody here have? If you want to, you can raise your hand. I'll unmute you. You can put it in the chat. Just let me know if you guys have, because you got Adam here. You want to ask him anything instead of paying him $2,000 an hour. You can just say, Adam, I got you right now. And, you know, he didn't cover by any means everything. He was giving an overview of how he helps his clients. Like he told you about, I think it was a sort of one of these restaurants like an Applebee's, but it's more of a country western theme. It's not a chain. And I'll get to you in a second, Jeff. And it's more of a country western theme. And he, you know, got like all these videos, all these views on their Facebook page. And now every single time, and they just bring in these local, no name, nobody knows them kind of bands to their restaurant slash bar, whatever it is, and they're sold out every single time now. And that's an example. Now Jeff says, "How do we work with Adam directly?" Listen, guys, if you want, here's what we're going to do. And Lucas, I'll get to you in just 1 second. Because that happened when I saw Adam do this thing with a bunch of pastors, they were all asking him that. So Adam was anticipating this. He said, I'm going to send out my book. That'll help a lot of people because, you know, not everybody can work with Adam. But I'm going to send out a link at the end of this to his book. So you can download the book and it'll have a link to how you can work with Adam. And so I'll get that out this afternoon, Jeff. Okay. We're good. I'll get that out to everybody. Okay. Joyce says, how long before we, oh, I'm coming to where Lucas, I'm coming to you. I'm sorry. I got caught in there. How long before we know it's working? Good question. If you got a watch and you stare at your watch after you post, you will starve to death until but go.
Yeah, what I tell everybody, because everybody wants to know that, well, how long? Well, how long does it take us to get in shape if we go to the gym? How long does it, you know what I mean? How long does it take to lose that 30 pounds? It's all about our effort and our consistency. And back to the point, there is no magic button. I wish there was. If there was a magic button, I would be slamming on it all the time. I literally sleep on it at night. There's not. And so we have to define what success is for us, because if you only think success is just like going viral or having more followers or more views, then that's kind of a vain thing to think about. It's really about the quality of the engagement with the person in front of us. So I would focus on that rather than focus on how long we know till it works, because it works means different things to different people. So figure out what that number is, that metric is, and then just forget about it, and then just try to start talking with people in front of you. And then go back and look at it later. Real quick, Mr. Beast is the #1 YouTuber in the world. Somebody came up to him. I think he has like 358 million subscribers. I'm not sure what the number is now. But they asked him how long till it works. And he said, how many YouTube videos have you posted? And they said something like 14. And he goes, he laughed at him and said, I wouldn't even look at the numbers until I posted over 100. And then I would keep posting and posting and posting and trying different things. So it's not a how long until it works. It's just, am I going to get up today and go to the gym? And that's what we focus on.
Good answer. And this is something I want to say about that, Adam. And I think this is really important. I've spent thousands of dollars. Jeff, you have too. You know this. Thousands and thousands of dollars on advertising, paid ads. I've done it on Google, YouTube, Facebook, all of that. But you know, the minute you shut that ad off, that ad disappears.
Yep.
Right? I mean, it's gone. But these are out there forever. This is a long, the lifespan of the content is basically until the vehicle, YouTube, disappears or whatever. I mean, it's there. And so this is I think, a phenomenal long-term investment. I will say, because I did look, and this is one of the things I said to Adam, I got a lot of people that need this kind of help. I looked at it and I was sitting in the living room with my wife. I thought, I saw this video. I said, she saw my video on, I don't know, Facebook or whatever. I said, no, I haven't seen it because I don't go on there hardly. And she said, no, I'm getting your stuff. And I said, well, let me see the stats. And I started looking at the stats and I said, My gosh, that particular time I looked at it was up 600 and I don't remember the number, 650% in the last 30 days. I thought, wow, it's really picking up. And then I looked at some other stats, and this is just in the few weeks that Adam's been helping me and throwing stuff all over the net. I haven't had to do it. Now you can do that. Anybody can do it. So his book will tell you how to do it. But there's some of us that say, I know how to do that, or I could easily learn how to do it, but I don't have the time to do it. And so that's something Adam can do. We'll send out an email about that later. But Lucas, brother, let me see how do I let Lucas speak?
I And so the question you kind of briefly mentioned, you hit on kind of sometimes you put a lot of effort into it and then, no views and then, very short. The question I have is so that and I know the thrust of this is to connect with people. Like that's the most important thing. And I'm wondering if you could speak to, if it's better for those that connection to see a face, a person, or a person with a video next to me, or if I'm like on location, like at a park, if background matters at all, or if it's just like, man, just use your words. And I mean, because you could spend a lot of takes and takes and takes trying to get something right, and it's like,
Mhm.
man, I'm wasting the time. Can you speak to just how to streamline some of those content and not waste time, but also I do want to connect, and I'd rather personally, and I think the people that I would connect to would be outdoors like people, like
Yeah.
being outdoors. And so anyway, so just kind of to that point of how much time into prep work do you do, for certain things, and what's worth it? Thank you.
Yeah, a great question. And Michael and I just talked about this yesterday, actually. So I'm a big believer in don't overthink it. Uh, for my own personal branding, I mean, I spent years building everybody else's stuff. I was like the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, just pushing all the handles. And I finally realized I probably should just like come out and do what I'm talking about for me. And so I created this series called 101 Marketing Tips in 101 Days While I Walk. And I try to get 10,000 steps in a day, and I'll go outside and I'll just have a thought and I'll turn my phone around, and wherever I am is where I am for that video, and I do one take and I post it. Because I don't want to overthink it, because if I'm overthinking it, I'm trying too hard. It's not going to sound natural. It's going to sound rehearsed. And when it sounds rehearsed, it sounds like a sales thing. It's just conversation. It doesn't sound like that at all. So um, the background is wherever you want to be, whenever you want to be there, and I wouldn't worry about it. I would focus on just getting it out there. Um, there's always people that are real picky about it, and they think that it really has to be all consistent and all that, which do the best you can, but don't overthink it. Like get the best webcam that you can afford, get the best microphone you can afford. But again, it's the quality of the material, not the production quality. None of us are, $1 million studio. We just have phones in our hand, which, thank goodness for technology. They're pretty good now. I mean, they shoot in 4K. That's pretty good for something that's in our pocket. So,
Yeah, very good. Now, Ed Taros, Ed, let me see you. I got to figure out where Ed is because you asked a question, Ed, but I need you to maybe um,
Yeah.
elaborate that question. He asked whether he should have one focus area or multiple areas. Um, to add, just word it to him a little bit more what you mean, please.
Hi, Adam. One of the questions was I have this thing called Focus. Okay, Focus Life Institute. So everything's about focus. But I have a passion for this next generation, equipping them to be for the real world, helping young people get direction, the values, the virtues, career direction, soft skills, etc. Got courses online for that. But I'm
yeah.
kind of wondering if you have a chance to really to focus on one area. I have a passion for families, which I'm working on some materials now. How do I get families activated with their children, understand their spiritual gifts and the personality styles? I'm certified in the DISC. I worked for Coke for 37 years. And now I'm going after families and then get them to where you can create a legacy. And so I don't, yeah, I'm the focus coach. I'm focused in three areas. So I'm kind of wondering, do you think it's beneficial to stay in one area? I've got three different sections on my YouTube channel. Should I condense that to one, sir?
So I think that if you're an expert in an area, talk about that area. If it's your passion, talk about that. As far as organization on YouTube, you can create certain playlists. When you do post a long video, you can put it in a playlist. That's what I've been doing with Michael's stuff. Is he has his regular videos, and then he has his Selling Among Wolves podcast that we just started. So make sure you're following that. Put it in a playlist. But really, I think the focus should be just getting what's in your heart out there and letting people get to know who you are. Because once they connect to who you are, then you could talk about anything else in the world. Like we can have a conversation about sports over coffee if I know who you are. So I think that is kind of the goal. Again, I don't know another way to say it. It's just to connect with the person. And I know that's all our goal in sales and marketing and everything that we're trying to do is to not only minister, but to just grab their heart and have that lifelong connection of value where when people think about us, they feel good about that. And that's what I want my legacy to be.
I got an idea. I think I'm going to do this. Ed, for those of you who don't know, Dr. Ed Touros, Fortune 100 executive most of his life, retired from that to dedicate his life to helping young people find their purpose and their mission in life and to succeed. And I've looked at his materials. I have his materials. He's absolutely top drawer. If you have a young person and know somebody who does, that's either, high school or early college, whatever, and they're trying to find their way, drop him a message because you need to connect with him for sure. But Ed, I'm just thinking as I'm listening to Adam, I would like to do an interview with you. And let's talk about not so much about your program. I want to talk about you. I want to talk about your history, talk about this. We'll weave everything else in as we can. But I haven't had the privilege of having a real in-depth talk with you. And then you can post it on your channel and I'll post it on mine because it's going to be a good conversation. So, because what Adam is getting at is it's not like 300 videos of you trying to say it one way, say it another way, sell. There's one guy on there I have to get a paper bag nearby in case his ad comes on while I'm watching YouTube. I mean, it annoys me so much. I got one figure. I actually mute it for the 6 seconds because I don't want to hear it. It's so infuriating to me. And then I'm off of it. But that's what if people could hear your heart and know your heart and just know the guy you are and the battles that you won and what motivates you to even do this. That's the part. And then you can split it or you can work with Adam, whatever you want to do on that and do that. But I'll do one just with you as a courtesy. All right. All right. Now, cool. Let me just check, guys. I'm going to get to all the questions here.
Michael, while you're looking,
yeah.
that you talked about the Thirsty Cowboy. So the Thirsty Cowboy is the client that Mike was talking about that they do the country western shows, and they're in a town of about 30,000 people. They have roughly 88,000 followers currently, but when I started working with them, they had 40,000, which is still a lot. That's a lot more than most small businesses have, and that's because they interact with a lot of up-and-coming artists who are sharing their name. So they got a more organic growth in their following. But in the last 28 days, for instance, they've had 3.7 million views on Facebook and 108,000 content interactions. That means people commented or actually shared. So that's not too terrible for a small business. 3.7 million views in 28 days. Most people would be like, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now Joyce, she said, how long before we got that? Jeff Newport, brother, God bless you. We got that. Jeff said something really good here. I'm going to find it in a second. Let me see. Kurt, there it is. Ed, there. Jeff said this best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. That's true. Yep. Okay, Felicia, are you there? She's probably there someplace. She said, can you please provide examples of how to actually provide value?
Yeah, well, I think Michael, as in your sales training, I mean,
yeah, well, it's easy. Here's the thing, we're not talking about the value of your product. We're basically in the context of social media, we're saying that the time I spent watching and listening to you was worth it to me. It either uplifted me or informed me. Now, let me tell you something. Some of you are in the Jesus School of Business and all that. And one of the things I talk about is the tree. The tree is the most, it's what 1 Kings 4:33 says, that Solomon talked about the trees. And the trees have three kinds of marketing: educational, or informational, if you will, inspirational, and transactional. Most of us spend our time doing transactional marketing, but trees don't. They do and you wonder, what am I talking about? I don't have time to explain that right now, but they do. And so in my media, I want to make sure that when I'm posting something on YouTube now, that it is either informative and slash interesting slash educational, or perhaps it's inspirational, or it does something to put some oxygen in the air like trees do. It does something to lift my spirits. Okay. It does something to draw me under the shelter of the shade of the tree from the heat of the sun, gives me some cool relief. It does that. And you've provided value in my life. I mean, I watched some videos and I think, well, that was 30 minutes of nothing. Let me tell you something. I talked to my son last night. He, a week ago, went to an event that was $30,000 ahead. And it was a 2-day thing. And you could bring a second person, like a team member, for $1,000. He was the second person. So he paid $1,000 to go. But I didn't know the guy. I thought, well, $30,000, somebody's paying a lot of money. But it went, and it was a 2-day thing. But guess what? I said, how was it? Because, I mean, people have paid 30 grand to be there. What was it like? He said, well, there was 3 hours of really good content. The rest of the 2 days was nothing but a pitch after a pitch after a pitch after a pitch. He doesn't even know if anybody bought. People were really ticked. They spent that much money just to be hard sold. And so this is the opposite of that. You want to provide value. So the value, what we're talking about, Felicia, and I don't agree or disagree if you like, but because we're talking about putting this on in video, I think it has to either educate slash inform, okay, or inspire slash uplift somebody, so they feel like when it's over, like, I'm glad I watched that. It put a smile on my face, or I learned something useful.
Yeah.
Does that get it?
Yeah. And something like a lot of the content that is going well for you, Michael, is when you start, I told you to start telling stories, right?
Yeah.
And that content is doing very well because people love sitting around and listening to people tell stories, because they can see themselves in your story and they can put themselves in that place and feel the things you felt and all the emotions and all that. So storytelling is amazing. Even on YouTube, you can see in your analytics section, you can see what your viewers are looking at on YouTube, or some of the questions that they are searching for. And so you can just, as you continue to promote content, you're going to have more data. You can start looking at what people in your audience are searching for and the questions that they're asking, and then begin to create content answering those questions. That's providing value, because you're the expert in that area, and you're putting your knowledge, passion, and heart to the people that are following you, and that you can't ask for more than that. And that's how I think it starts to grow.
Well, and to your point, I mean, you told me the story about your father, this pastor, his whole life, minister, still is pastoring, and he told a story about when he was a boy, and he was taking a pee someplace out, I presume, woods or wherever it was, and his brother shot him with a BB gun. Is that right?
Yeah, that was and that piece of content did very, very well. What happens is people will watch that one and they'll laugh, because we all did something stupid like that when we were kids and something weird happened. And then they'll start watching the other things that you do, and they'll start kind of like doing a deep dive on the rest of your stuff. And a lot of us are trying to push our stuff out there. We don't have any content, so there's nothing for them to look at. And so
that brings me to another point. And Jean-Yves, I'm going to get to you. I'm going to get to everybody on here. But you said it's nothing for them to look at, right? And so my wife, when she wants something, she doesn't go to see where I can buy it. Or maybe she'll say, oh, I see this. But then she looks and let me see their Facebook page. Let me see, is there anything about them on YouTube? She searches for them in the social media to see what they've said there, and also people's responses to that. And then they'll go back to the website. It used to be the website was where you went to buy something. Now, and to learn about it. But now you're going to go to social media and you're going to learn all about them that way. You're going to say, oh, I see what kind of guy this is. Oh, I didn't realize that you were whatever, or good or bad. And so I think that's a very important thing. And the role of social media is much different than it used to be. So, Joyce, Jean, I'm coming to you, but the next one is Joyce Evans says, why is Facebook really deleting videos? Don't know.
I don't really know why they would be deleted unless it violated their terms of services or whatever. Their content moderation has slowed way down thanks to the new administration. So there's a trend to just let people create content, and unless it's blatantly in violation of something, they're kind of letting it stay there now. So I wouldn't worry about it. And if they delete a video, just make another one.
Jean-Yves says, is there a certain keyword volume or search volume that you would like to see before you think the ROI might be worth it?
The only keyword that I would use in that situation is, how do I stop thinking about ROI? Use that as your keyword, because if you're thinking about ROI all the time, then that's desperation mode, and you're not going to be happy no matter what. So I would put my head down and go to work. You know what I mean? Just work hard. And that's what I tell clients all the time. Like, I can't come into you know more about your business than anybody in the entire world. What kind of arrogance is it going to be for me to come in and say I can fix everything and in a couple months, 6 months, change your entire life? Well, I'm good, but I'm not that good. I wish I was. All I promise people is I'll use everything I know, and I'm going to work as hard next to you and with you and support you, and we can work together to make this thing work. So, and that's the ROI that I'm looking at. Teamwork makes the dream work. And so I would just be worried about, like we talked about a million times on repeat, just create that value. And, I'm a believer, and I believe that the Lord is the Lord of the harvest, and he brings the increase. We plant the seed, and he brings the increase. So we just trust God.
Yeah. And I'm going to send out an email with the link for the book and all that kind of stuff coming up shortly. And I'm just seeing else Jeff had to bounce. Errol, we're going to send you out that link in a little bit. I'll put that later, Adam. I'll put it out in the email so everybody gets it at the same time.
Yeah.
Let me see who else. Hey, Minor Vargas, God bless you, brother. So good to see you on this call. God bless. God bless. Douglas Hammett. FB is now deleting videos that have been up for 30 days.
I don't think that I don't know that to be true. If that's the case, that's wild that they would do that. I've been posting videos on Facebook for 8 years, so I haven't seen any.
Yeah, I mean, my videos are still there, so I'm not sure about that. Okay, everybody's saying goodbye. Thank you so much, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to let it go. We're done with the questions. Thank you, everybody. Was this worth your time? Was this good? Because I'm going to do it again Thursday. Thank you, Terry. And so listen, thanks very much there, Lucas. A lot of times you come to these things and think, okay, I got to make sure I got the credit card in the other room or far away. This was truly to help. And on some people say, like me, I was one of the guys that said, I can't do this myself. I don't have the time for it. So I realized there's a few people that say, they're more of a business oriented. They could maybe use his, and you're welcome to do that. So, okay, guys, thank you. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Connie. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Carol, everybody. God bless everybody. We're doing this again Thursday, not tomorrow, but a week Thursday. Same thing. So no point in coming back unless you just want to hear it again. But if you want to recommend it to some of your friends, that's fine. That'd be good. Just send them the same link and they can come. But it's just this. This is what we did.
And if there's, Michael, if anybody has any questions too, make sure you reach out to us.
I'm going to send out the
contact information will be there, so make sure you can reach out to me, and I'll help the best I can. If I don't know the answer, I'll just tell you that too.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll put a link for people to make a call with you if they want to do that. Is that fair enough?
Good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Lucas. Thanks. Thanks, George. Thanks, Tremaine. Thanks, everybody. God bless you all. Some of you I'll be seeing tomorrow on the Jesus School, and
Yeah.
some of you will see you next Thursday. God bless you, Terry. God bless everybody. Bye-bye for now.